One of many things to discuss with our man London Fletcher. And, of course, Fletch, terrific career in the NFL. We call him Cap on TV. Leads us out of the tunnel. He's a nutball. He's got his Beats headphones on before we start TV on Sunday. Try to ignore us, getting ready to roll. Fletch, what's up, buddy?
Doing pretty good, man. How you doing, BT?
I'm doing okay.
We're all good.
Hey, Tiki, real quick.
BT sounds like he sounds like you're Colin Kaepernick in it, man.
Listen. Now,
Here we go.
first of all, my headphones. Yesterday they were Beats, but normally they're these headphones by Music, M-U-Z-I-K.
Oh, I heard about those.
What's
Actually,
the difference?
Oh, those are absolutely way better than the Beats.
nice.
Well, that means he's endorsing them.
Yes, it does. That means you got to.
Hey,
that
man.
means since we have. That means
You're going to throw out Beats, I'm going to throw out the Music.
all right. Since
M-U-Z-I-K.
since we're giving you the platform, we expect a couple of pairs.
Now, real quick, BT and Tiki, your guy BT made fun of me a couple weeks back. I drafted Blake Bortles as my quarterback in our draft on the show.
We do a fantasy element. Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I did.
He literally laughed at me.
I did.
And then there was another time he walked off the show when I said the Jets secondary was overrated.
Ooh.
I did. I actually walked off the set, and I got a Fletch. You may have been right about that, man. I mean, I know the Jets aren't necessarily the story today, but they are starting to crack at the seams defensively. They don't look very good. I can't disagree with that right now. You may have been onto something, man.
Yeah,
You know?
I won't say when I mess up things. So you taught me that, BT.
And by the way, you done patting yourself on the back, or do you have a couple of more things you want to point out? We good?
Before we get off.
Okay. Hey, what was the biggest surprise, Fletch? I mean, really, there were a couple of things, some ugly penalties, some bad injuries, a lot of upsets. The one thing that you really said, man, I didn't see that coming yesterday. What was it for you, man?
Probably, I would have to say the Colts beating Denver. You think about a team undefeated and on the road and going into Indy with all the things they had going on, and for them to come out and beat the Broncos, that's the thing that kind of jumps off right away. And then obviously second thing would be San Francisco. Winning. I know you got Blaine Gabbert played pretty decent.
Yeah, you did, London. And I think the issue, I don't know. I mean, we've wanted to say that the Falcons are this team, right? BT had Dan Quinn as his coach of the year at the beginning of the year, but this was preseason before we even saw anything happen. But he was backing that up early. It was like, they're finding ways to win games.
5-0.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Even when they, don't play great, they got this grit about them. But at the end of the day, they're not for real. It seems like the Atlanta Falcons.
I think their offense is definitely for real. They've had some turnover issues, and it's not just about interceptions. It's costly fumbles, snaps, whether it's bad snaps in the shotgun, things like that. And these are times where they're going in for scores, red zone turnovers. So that definitely hurt them in the Tampa Bay game. I didn't get a chance to see the game they played yesterday, so I'm not sure what the issue was. But from a defensive standpoint, I know they don't get a ton of pressure on the quarterback, so you're going to have to be able to generate some type of pressure on the passer, on the quarterback, things like that. But I know Atlanta definitely has to be concerned, with the way they've been playing the last few weeks.
Fletch, every year this tends to happen where we, collectively we kind of say, well, all right, this team maybe not as good as we thought they would be, and we kind of bury them a little bit too early. And then all of a sudden, when nobody's watching, they make a little rise from the ashes. And I'm starting to think that maybe the Buffalo Bills, who are suddenly very healthy, obviously you know the city well, you played there in very good form for a couple of years. I look at the Bills now, the running threat's there, Sammy Watkins is healthy, Tyrod Taylor is good, and I think they come into this game with the Jets with all sorts of momentum. And right now, I think the Bills are going to win this game.
Okay, BT, you're picking against the Jets. The thing about the Bills is I know McCoy got banged up again yesterday, so on a short week, will he be back healthy? I know Rex was talking about getting his guys back. You got Tyrod Taylor back. You mentioned Watkins, Williams, the kid. He's the rookie running back.
Yep, Carlos.
He's back out there. So health has been an issue for the Buffalo Bills, and it'll be definitely them and the Jets down the stretch as far as battling for that second possible AFC East team making it into the playoffs.
Are you able to pinpoint specifically, because, we referenced the stats on TV yesterday where in 2014 the Bills gave up one game they had over 30 points allowed, and they were first in the NFL with 54 sacks. And there's been this incredible drop-off. What is Rex doing differently? Is it a strategic thing or a performance thing? Why the sudden drop-off?
I looked at it as I looked at their game against the Jaguars, and I know guys were complaining about the scheme and Rex doing too much. So in that game against the Jaguars, they rushed a lot of just regular 4-man pass rush. Let those guys get after the quarterback, and from they played some zone coverage, and the linebackers and the secondary wasn't on the same page as far as their zone drops. So simple coverages whether it's cover 2, cover 3, undisciplined in their zone, drops and things like that. So, from a schematic standpoint, that's where Rex is getting frustrated, where you're like, okay, you say we're doing too much. Well, this is basic cover 2, cover 3, and you guys aren't even executing this well. So, and then poor run fits too. It was a couple times with the linebackers, and I'm sure, Tiki, you can appreciate this.
Yeah.
They just they had poor vision as far as knowing where to fit on the run. Understanding, okay, you get a pulling guard or a lineman coming across, you have to now adjust your run fits. And there were two linebackers in the same gap. So that's just basic fundamental football.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's old school, like learning that sometimes I don't think it's happening as much as it used to anymore in the National Football. Maybe call it the offseason, call it whatever you want. But London, when you look at the NFC, and I'm jumping over to the NFC now because of the undefeated Carolina Panthers, and we had this conversation about 20 minutes ago. Cam Newton's stats they're not good at all.
Not good.
At all. 14 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, completing like 50-something% of his passes. And who was it that Ryan Mallett? If Ryan Mallett hadn't taken snaps in the league, he'd have the worst completion percentage in the league. Mm-hmm. How are they still winning? I mean, there's a lot to say about having a winner at your helm, but I mean, this kind of seems out of whack a little bit with success and what really are the factors for success.
Yeah, they're just a gritty football team, man. They it's not pretty, but they win. Think about Cam. He makes plays, whether it's running the ball. His receivers, they may go into the game, they'll drop several passes. So that's part of his completion percentage being down. So they'll drop a lot of big plays, and then a critical fourth quarter catch they'll make, a third down conversion. Then they'll get the run game going, and in the red zone, you have to worry about Cam as a running back, running quarterback, things like that. And then on defense, they get after the quarterback, they intercept the ball, they tackle well, so they do all the things that you would love, from a defense standpoint. They create turnovers, so they just find a way to win football games.
We're talking to London Fletcher. Of course, 16 years in the NFL and 16 good ones. Durability. He's a world champ. He's made a nice transition to TV. I love working with him every Sunday on Tops. And if you haven't checked it out, make sure you do so at 9 a.m. on CBS Sports Network, 4-hour pregame show. We get a little wacky. By the way, 4 hours. By the fourth hour, we don't even know what we're saying. So that's probably.
Hey, BT, we have to look at it like, man, who did I pick for my own notice?
Yeah, I know. Just remind it. What did we write in the email on Wednesday? Because I kind of forgot what I'm about to say.
Right.
But let me ask you this, because you're an incredibly durable and high-character player who really had the respect of the entire league. So your answer, I think, will be pretty telling. Was that a dirty hit on Teddy Bridgewater?
I didn't think so, and I've had hits like that on the quarterback. When you're a guy and you decide to run as a quarterback and you don't get down fast enough, that's just part of it. Obviously, I think it's magnified because it's the St. Louis Rams. It's Greg Williams as the defensive coordinator over there. So, that magnifies it and makes it seem like, oh, man, it was definitely intentional. Mm-hmm. But you see that hit in many ball games throughout the course of a season. When the quarterback decides to run, man, you're no longer protected. And you slide, but you need to slide a lot quicker, Teddy.
Yeah, well, I think the only reason it was an issue, the real reason it was an issue is because his head hit the ground. So it became, he got concussed and was knocked out. So these hits always look worse than they actually are. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Oh, yeah.
It actually doesn't hurt to get hit like that, but because his head hit the ground,
That's what people are reacting to.
it knocked him out. They're reacting more to the fact that he was unconscious
Agreed.
than the hit. Because people ask me these questions all the time, London, and you know this. You get drilled in a game, and people are like, oh, man, that had to hurt. And you're like, actually, not really. You know,
right, exactly.
It's the one where
I don't even remember that.
Exactly. It's the one when you're coming through the hole, for instance, and London Fletcher's standing right there, and I'm standing right there, and we know we're going to hit each other. Those are the ones that hurt. It's the ones that you don't see coming. Those actually don't hurt that much. It's like it's like a car crash because your body is so loose and you just let it go. So that's kind of how I view that. It was only reason I think it was dirty was because he knew that he was giving himself up, and he went at him, and I think Teddy slid under him faster than he thought he was going to get there, and as a result, his head hit the ground and knocked him out. And that's why they have an issue.
I look at it like this: if you're a quarterback, and I'm a defensive player, and I see this quarterback running, I'm not thinking, oh man, I'm about to put a dirty hit on this guy. I'm thinking I'm going to make a tackle, and I'm going to hit him hard. It's nothing about I'm going to try to intentionally hurt him or
knock him out, things like that.
Knock him out, stuff like that. That's just, I think it's just a big story that's really nothing.
I don't know if that happens anymore in the NFL, London. Like the intentionally trying to hurt somebody. I want to knock this guy. I don't think that happens anymore.
There's probably times where you may not necessarily discuss it, but there's a couple guys I'm sure you have on a list.
Yeah, there's a couple of safeties that you're right. One happened
or defensive end or down in Dallas.
Yeah,
a few dirty interior linemen too, I'm sure. They try to take the knees out. Hey, Fletch, a little tight on time, but I want to at least give you 20, 30 seconds on this. Anything last night in the Eagles game from their side to say unequivocally, in your opinion, that they're going to win this division?
Bradford played better. He played good. Matthews caught the ball, made some plays. So that would make you think they're starting to get it going in the right direction. I think the running game started to get produce. Murray was productive. Ryan Matthews, who I talked about yesterday, he played well. So if Bradford can play like he played and not turn the football over, then they definitely have a shot, and they should be the favorite to win that division.
Fletch, appreciate it, man. I know obviously you fly back to Carolina after the show, and you got the kids in school and everything, so a couple of minutes after a busy weekend. We definitely appreciate it, buddy.
All right, thanks for having me on, guys.
No doubt. See you next week. There he is, Fletch.